Welcome to Season 5 of eCommerce Fastlane. This podcast helps resilient entrepreneurs, marketers, and founders to accelerate growth and thrive with Shopify. And now on to episode 244.
You're listening to eCommerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company powered by Shopify. Listen to real conversations with partners and subject matter experts as they share proven practical strategies, platforms, and the best Shopify apps to help you accelerate your business. The time is now for you to improve efficiencies, grow revenue, profit, and lifetime customer loyalty. Please welcome your host, startup founder, and strategic advisor, Steve Hutt.
Today's show is sponsored by the Be Profit app for e-commerce sellers. Need a clearer picture of your profit margins, or want an easier way to understand your ad spend, or looking for a fast way to analyze all of your Shopify store's data? Then the Be Profit app does it all for you. And like many of our listeners, I used to track a lot of my profits and expenses with all things like a spreadsheet. It worked for a while, but my store started to scale up and it simply wasn't a viable method to accurately measure the profitability anymore. And that's where Be Profit now changes all of that for Shopify brands. It's currently available right now in the Shopify App Store. Be Profit gathers vast amounts of data in a blink of an eye with an auto integrations to a lot of the top ad platforms, AliExpress, and a lot more. But what Be Profit does next is to translate all of your first party, your Shopify store data into an intuitive and customizable all-in-one dashboard, providing you with valuable insights, and it really allows you to zoom in on the metrics that matter most to your brand. You can even take full control of your data by creating and exporting your own custom reports. So that's pretty exciting. Discover your most valuable products, their top performing ads, best customer cohorts, and so much more, all with the Be Profit's intuitive profit dashboard. Now you can visit beprofit.co and you can start a 7-day free trial, kind of kick the tires and see what this platform can do. Also, for eCommerce Fastlane listeners, you get access to an exclusive lifetime 15% discount. Use code FL15 on any Be Profit plan. So you get a 7-day free trial, 15% off for life. Check them out today at beprofit.co and use the discount code FL15. Well, hey there. My name is Steve Hutt. I'm Senior Merchant Success Manager here at Shopify, and welcome back to the 5th season of eCommerce Fastlane. Whether this is your first time listening or if you're a weekly subscriber, I seriously appreciate that you're taking time today to listen to the show. I know there's plenty of podcast choices out there in e-commerce and direct-to-consumer marketing, and just the fact that you're here today means the world to me, and I know it does to my featured guest today. If this is your first time listening, this is an e-commerce show where we have honest and transparent conversations about building and thriving with your store powered by Shopify or Shopify Plus. Now, if you're an ambitious lifelong learner, which you likely are since you're here today, you're definitely in the right place. Now, new episodes are available twice weekly with your favorite podcast players like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We're now even streaming live now on Amazon Music and on YouTube, so check that out. Now, today's episode, encore recording, I might add, is my friend. I'm going to call him my friend because I've had him on numerous times. Love his product. His name is Brian Long. He's the co-founder and CEO of a company called Attentive. That's at attentive.com. And they power SMS marketing for both retail and e-commerce brands around the world. This is guaranteed to be an excellent conversation, and there's going to be a ton of learnings around the mobile consumer. Also, please make sure you listen through to the end. There's an exclusive listener-only bonus that I guarantee you're going to want to take up Brian on his offer. So hi, Brian. Welcome again to eCommerce Fastlane.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve. Always a pleasure.
So let's talk on high level first. There's going to be those, believe it or not, that don't know who Attentive is, and specifically your platform and the problems that you're currently solving for Shopify brands. So maybe you can unpack a little bit on a high level first.
Yeah, of course. I think the problem is, how do I reach my customers in a way that they like? I think that with, changes in advertising policies on Facebook or drops in open rates on email, it's gotten harder and harder to reach customers. With Attentive, you can reach all of your best customers as well as some of your best potential prospects instantly using text messaging. So we provide text message marketing and communication software built for the best e-commerce and retail businesses. We've been doing it for over 5 years now, really invented the space for text message marketing for e-commerce and retail businesses. And our goal is to drive 20% or more of your sales from text messages.
Yeah, I read somewhere that your goal is, and I think you have some stats to prove this, is that it turns out to be like the third most important revenue driver out of most brands. Are you able to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, text is a new thing for a lot of brands, but in very short time period, it's become one of their top 3 sources of revenue. And for a lot of the brands we work with, it is their number one source of sales. It's the number one source of revenue for the brand. For our average customer today, our average customer is seeing over 20% of sales driven from text messaging. For customers that have worked with us for over a year, that number can be more like 25 to even 30% of sales. So it can have tremendous impact on the number of sales that the brand is driving.
I know we're going to hit home hard on this. For those listening today, if you're not doing text marketing, then you're losing a lot. Minimum 20%, but upwards of maybe even 30% of your revenue is not being generated and having text, certainly from an automated perspective and then from a campaign perspective. I know we're going to unpack a little bit of that in a few minutes. So let's talk about the origin story first. I think it's nice to set the stage a bit about, 5 years in business, definitely a Shopify Plus technology partner. You've gone through all of those hoops to be world-class, only 80 partners in the Shopify tech kind of partners ecosystem. So kudos to the team that, made that leap, with privacy and security and all the benefits that go along with that. But how did the pieces come together for the founding team? I know the story from the previous episode, but maybe those that are new today, they don't know how Attentive, how they all came together. Where did the desire and the expertise come from? You and your co-founder and the founding team, just to even want to build this platform and get involved in mobile marketing?
Yeah, great question, Steve. So in terms of our sort of founding story, we had a company before Attentive that did mobile app marketing. And we built that company up. It was acquired by Twitter. We ran the mobile apps group at Twitter. And while at Twitter, we just thought that messaging as a channel was really underutilized. And there were a lot of people focused on how to use Facebook Messenger, but we just looked at how consumers all had text messaging, whereas a lot of people didn't use Facebook Messenger or other, WhatsApp or other types of messaging types of apps. So, we took SMS to market, really, to e-commerce companies. And, initially it was pretty hard to sell it because very few businesses were doing anything. It was a very new and nascent area, but we were lucky to work with a couple early customers starting out in the spring of 2017. And, over the course of months, we turned a couple customers into 10, into 40 or 50, into 100, and so on and so forth. And then through our partnership with Shopify, we saw just a tremendous growth of Shopify brands using Attentive, and that certainly has been a huge component to our success and growth.
So let's talk about the SMS adoption, because, you made a comment, and I agree, this is what I see too, was there's lots listening today that maybe are not using SMS, but the narrative is out there that, 70 or 80% or more of your traffic is mobile. And as you said, open rates are lower on email, just because that's just the nature of the beast, whereas text is more personal and more one-on-one. And so, why do you think more and more brands are slowly trying to adopt getting involved with SMS? Is there something specific about just more mobile traffic, or is there some other underlying kind of push for brands to want to interact with their customers through SMS?
I think SMS allows brands to own the customer relationship. With buying ads on Facebook, you're kind of renting your customer relationships from Facebook, right? And I think a lot of brands rely on that, but they've found out in the last year or two that sometimes the landlord can change the prices, and it gets pretty expensive when you have to deal with a landlord, right? You'd rather own your relationships. I also think that all brands should be doing email marketing. Email is great. It's super cheap and it's efficient and it's an important channel. But at the same time, email marketing has kind of turned more from a performance standpoint into what we'd see from online advertising. So just to give some data points there, if we've looked at the average click-through rate on email marketing in 2013, it was about 4.5%. In 2021, according to Campaign Monitor, which is an email marketing platform, it had dropped to 0.6%. So, it's dropped tremendously, almost 80, 90% in the last 7 or 8 years. And it's dropped continuously as well. And I think if you stop for a second and say, well, why is email performance from a click-through rate standpoint dropped? It's that marketers are sending more email than they ever have before. The consumer is overloaded with email. And as a result, they're just opening and interacting with less of it. With SMS, I think you get this amazing new channel that, people are opening. Almost every single SMS is being opened. And therefore, there's a lot more engagement and traffic driven from the channel.
I noticed that too. I follow a lot of brands. I manage a lot of brands, and I find that one of the big successes that they have is their VIP program, where they have special limited drops that are only available on SMS. And I think that's what's kind of the motivator in their pop-up or their exit intent or whatever they're doing about capturing that email address in exchange for access to a private community. Can you talk a little bit about how Attentive has been very intentional in that area too? Because I can't name the large brands that I manage, but they do some really large flash sales and drops through SMS, through your platform, and they're like wildly successful.
I think being able to use SMS to reach VIP customers is just a no-brainer to me, because, the same way that you would be able to engage with a friend and let a friend know about something like this is the same experience that you could have with SMS by letting them know, right? And I think we can go beyond just letting them know about something too. We have products like Attentive Concierge. Not only can you let them know, but you can actually have a real conversation with that VIP customer.
Yeah, see, this is lovely. I'm going to pivot into that in a minute, because I know there's these conversations going around called conversational commerce, and I know that's where your concierge service fits into the mix. I just want to add one more thing about just the cookieless future. Obviously, there's, Safari's no more cookies, and with iOS 14.5, you have to manually opt in, and 97% or whatever I read recently have not opted in to being in Apple. I'm sure Google's kind of the cookieless future. The apocalypse is happening with Chrome at some point too. So what sort of impact does all of this kind of, non-data sharing do now for marketers that want to reach their customers?
It's a huge impact. I think marketers are already, feeling that impact, right? So just to restate what you said, Apple decided that they weren't going to allow third-party cookies. And third-party cookies are cookies that are set and then can be used from domains that are different from the domain in which the cookie was set. So, first-party cookies are used in order to keep track of your logged-in state, your shopping cart, things like that. They're not going anywhere. But third-party cookies being used on other domains are gone on Apple and maybe gone on Google in the future as well. First-party cookies are used for advertising targeting. It allows us to do all sorts of different types of retargeting and lookalike targeting and things like that. Can't do it anymore because of the change. And a lot of brands relied on that in order to do advanced ad targeting to drive traffic and get efficiency out of their advertising program. So it's a huge shift, and it means that brands can't rely on those type of targeted ad channels using cookies to drive their traffic. They need to find other sources of traffic. For us, we think that this increases the importance of using channels because you can use SMS in order to drive traffic and engage your audience.
Right. I think that's the pivot that I want about this whole conversational commerce, because it's clear that, SMS really is the choice. You own the customer journey. It creates a better experience. The open rates, the click-through rates, conversion rate. I mean, I can give you all the accolades for all the benefits that come out of it. But let's talk a bit about, maybe you can share with the audience about, from your perspective, what is conversational commerce and what impact do you believe it's having on revenue for brands today?
I think that I look at how some luxury products are already being sold via SMS. So, whether it's companies like Stitch Fix selling fashion, or, certain high-end fashion brands or things like that that are using SMS, or even a car dealer is using SMS in order to communicate between a buyer and a seller with a real human to have conversations and figure out what that person might want and complete the transaction, often all within the text message, right? We see this being done with a tremendous amount of businesses already in China using WeChat. So I think that we're going to see over the next few years in the United States, the consumer being able to have a conversation, ask questions, and ultimately be able to purchase things all within the text message for a huge variety of different types of companies across a number of different verticals. And I think it's going to be really great for the consumer because it's a much better experience for the consumer. It's much more convenient.
I have a couple brands, well, more than a couple, but they're in the kind of subscription market. And they're finding some success by, I guess, recommending new things or how to anticipating the fact that their subscription is coming up, and or some communication about potentially declined credit cards and different things like that. I just would love to unpack a bit about how you're thinking about subscription companies as it relates to SMS. I guess one part of the question. And then the other part is I'm finding there's an interesting niche right now of brands that are trying to engage customers about reordering. We always talk about LTV and getting the lifetime value of a customer. How do I get the second sale, this customer's journey? And, one way is saying, hey, you just bought this consumable product, these vitamins or this, whatever it is. And hey, we believe it's time for you to reorder. You're not on a subscription plan. Or, hey, do you know we have a subscription plan? Link sent and how to sign up for it. So I'm just curious in how Attentive is thinking about subscription companies and how to easily reorder or change and just the whole dialogue around that.
I think subscription is a great example as first foray into conversational commerce. So, with subscription-based businesses, they can send a text message and say, do you want to add something to your next order? Or do you want to, change your order in some way? And you can complete those via text message because they already have an order in place that's recurring, and it's easier to edit those in text messages. I think that over time, we're going to see more advanced shopping features happening within the text message, things like SKU selection and being able to accurately pick shipping information and all that sort of management and fulfillment type of stuff.
So I alluded to a little bit about, and you mentioned it too, about you used the word the concierge option through Attentive. Are you able to talk a bit about that? I think there was an acquisition that happened in the past to, I guess, enhance the conversational messaging of the Attentive platform. Maybe we can talk about Attentive and maybe tone and kind of how that's coming together. And then what does this all mean now as far as, the Attentive concierge option?
Yeah, great question. So last summer, June of 2021, we acquired a company called Tone that offered real humans to have conversations with customers via text message. And they were doing it for over 1,000 different Shopify stores. And we saw that a lot of our customers were also customers of theirs. And they said, we'd really like it if it all came from one text message and if I could all sort of incorporate it all together. And we said, great, let's do that. And we merged the two companies together and we built kind of all of their technology into our technology, completed that integration at the end of the summer and started rolling that out to customers. And, the results have really been amazing. We've seen a significant uptick in revenue driven from these type of conversational messages. Often when someone is in a buying process, is sort of at the bottom of the shopping funnel, they're adding things to their cart, they're browsing around, or someone who's a VIP customer who's bought from the brand before. We see a lot of interest from those different markets to have conversations with the concierge people on our side. We've also, at the same time as driving more revenue, we're also seeing a reduction in the number of customer service tickets created. So not only is it making more money for the businesses, it's also saving money from extraneous customer service interactions.
And so I guess you bring up a good point here. So there is the automated flows that are set up in Attentive, and I have many brands that I manage that are not doing SMS. I'm saying at the bare minimum as a starting point to prove the value of SMS is to turn on maybe cart recovery or browse recovery. And if you're able to capture the phone number as part of that, dialogue with the customer, it's like, it's interesting to see the amount of revenues being left on the table just from an automation perspective. And I think that's almost like a gateway drug, so to speak, because then it opens up, if we can segment a group of customers that bought this, they probably would be interested in this. And maybe we should send out an SMS campaign out to these sorts of people. And so I just would like to talk about maybe the automated side versus the campaign side. And then now with your Tone connection, another level of service, do the platforms work together harmoniously? There's a lot of questions here, but do they work harmoniously together? So we have the automation and the campaign side of the business, but then we also have the human component. Could it potentially kick in as needed through some kind of machine learning or AI to know that they haven't bought yet, they're engaged in the website, they're communicating with me now, but it's only a bot. Maybe a human needs to kick in here and kind of close the deal. I just would like to understand that whole workflow.
Yeah, of course. So to start off, to your point around sort of automated messages versus more campaign type messages than funnel and concierge, I think automated messages is a great place to start. If you're skeptical about SMS and you just want to give it a quick try, then set up a way so that people can sign up and then start sending them automated messages based on their activity. Like, you will see that people have very high engagement rates with those messages, and ultimately it will drive a significant amount of sales for you very quickly. And then as your list grows, you are going to want to start sending more messages to those people that aren't engaging in order to drive traffic back to your site. So I think, getting started with automated is great. And then plugging that into more one-off campaign messages is a great next step. Concierge is just totally integrated into our product today. So we really built the whole thing integrated into the core Attentive product. And because it's all built in, you can get everything coordinated with Concierge so that the Concierge sequences are plugged right into your automated or campaign sequences with Attentive.
That's lovely. I'd also add to make sure that, once again, for those that are just trying to dip your toes in the pool of SMS, it's like another thing I tell brands is start early, get your opt-ins going. Maybe you don't even know what you don't know. At least figure out the opt-ins. I know you have a really great modals and exit intent and different types of ways of on brand being able to get the phone number out of a brand in exchange for something, whatever that means, early drops, VIPs, discounts, this, that. There's lots of different strategies around that. We'll talk about some interesting websites you have showing inspiration to other brands and kind of what they're doing. So if you're wondering what you may want to do or what others are doing successfully, I just would highly recommend starting early, getting these phone numbers right away, and then letting the automation flows do what it needs to do. And then over time, you're going to see you have some great opportunity in front of you. So I want to talk about competitors. I always bring this part up in my show where, I believe that, where there's competition, there's business. And I know there's other kind of quote unquote SMS type solutions. You're a little bit unique in the marketplace, which we'll talk about in a minute. But, you can search the App Store or Google, whatever. There's notable peers that are doing some great work in interacting one-on-one with a mobile consumer. We know the benefits is very clear, but let's talk about Attentive, why you've been so intentional to differentiate from others in the ecosystem. We'd just like to unpack that a bit.
I think in the ecosystem, we've really targeted to work with companies that are a little bit more mid-market to larger mid-market and enterprise type of brands. So if you are someone who is really just getting started and just getting off the ground and has a new startup, we actually have another business we acquired called Privy. And Privy is really great for a company that's just getting off the ground, wants something that's completely self-service and that they can sort of plug into, get started, just learn. It does email, SMS, capture, everything, very easy to get going. And I would direct them to that. But as the business gets bigger and is really growing and is looking for the best-in-class solution, particularly for the SMS channel, that's when I would really suggest Attentive. I think that is far and away the best-in-class solution. We offer, everything across our suite, I think, is built to be the premium best-in-class solution. And again, the reason the ultimate outcome is how much revenue it can drive. And our goal is to be able to drive 20% plus of your revenue, and we're going to hold ourselves accountable to that goal.
I know Ben Jabry very well. He had a decent podcast for quite a while, the eCommerce Marketing School. Yeah, I've had him on the show numerous times, and once again, highly recommended. Great acquisition again by Attentive. So that's fantastic. I want to talk about a story now because I think it's interesting. I think people are really motivated when they hear about others and the successes of other Shopify brands, maybe using SMS. So I'd love it if you could maybe share a story or two about didn't have SMS. They knew the benefits. It's very clear, the open rates, conversion, all the benefits. We know it's a huge win. Hopefully I don't put you on the spot here. It'd be great if you could maybe share a couple brands, what specifically motivated them, I guess, from their current process, then becoming an Attentive customer, and then how things improved for them, efficiencies and revenue and these sorts of things.
Yeah, of course. So, look, Attentive has been doing this for over 5 years and is focused on doing it for e-commerce and retail businesses. And through that experience, we've been able to work with just an incredible set of brands. And I think for me, it can be the most fun when you're working with a brand that's really just starting to get their name known, starting to get out there, and then tries to channel out and can see just the tremendous impact it has on their growth and ultimately the revenue that it drives. Just a couple of stories I tell on that. We worked with a brand called Supergoop, which we use now for a lot of our sunscreen and everything. Personally, love the product, fantastic product. And through working with Attentive, they saw a huge increase in their SMS list. Quickly it became a very large source of revenue for them, and also clear ROI from the program, driving $29 for every dollar spent and seeing a conversion rate of 11.5% on their marketing messages, which is pretty amazing, right? I mean, to see a double-digit conversion rate is pretty insane. So we've seen brands like that. We've also seen brands that were more established pick us up, and it really drove another leg of growth for those brands. As a marketer, you're often pushed to say, how am I going to find that next 20, 30, 40%, whatever it is this year? And, what we found is that people can pick up a channel like this, or maybe they were doing SMS already, but they were doing it with someone where SMS isn't a focus, or it's, more of a long tail self-serve product and something like that isn't as rich and robust. People can come to us and just grow their list and their program dramatically faster. So another just quick story. We've been lucky to work with the brand Pura Vida bracelets. And when they came and joined us, they saw their list growing up 411% faster with us in just a period of 9 months, and quickly drove millions in incremental revenue. And again, on ROI, that was in the high 20s for each dollar spent. So very high ROI, much faster list growth, and ultimately lots of revenue.
Beautiful. I'm going to put links to Supergoop and Pura Vida. It's funny, with Pura Vida, I just came back from Maui and they're everywhere at every checkout. So they're doing some retail extremely
really
well.
Taken over, haven't they? Incredible.
They're awesome. I used to manage that account in the early days of Shopify until we regionalized a bit. But yeah, excellent brand. Thank you for bringing up those two case studies. I think I'll put links in the show notes too, because there's quite a few others in there that are pretty impactful. One thing I want to talk about next is about partnerships, because I think it's important. It's interesting when you go to your site and you take a look to see you do play quite nicely. You're a Plus technology partner for a reason. You stay in your lane for a reason. But I also feel that when I recommend a tool or a platform, some of the pushback from most brands are, okay, but does it play nice with my loyalty solution? Like, let's say Loyalty Lion or Smile or whatever. Or my ESP. I already have email, but I'm looking for SMS now. And so I just would like to understand like your mindset around partnerships and how you connect the platform to it. And are they in fact talking to each other? Is there a source of truth around the customer record and how the customer wants to be communicated with? And is there true marketing power by using Attentive along with a loyalty solution, or paired with an email solution? So I'd love to understand your thoughts around that.
Yeah, I think integrations and partnerships are absolutely critical to our channel, right? Because it allows us to send more relevant messages to our customers. And it also allows us to send data to other types of software so that they can provide a better software service as well. So I think it's absolutely a critical component. And we've built out integrations with all of the leading providers across every single dimension of service, whether it's email, loyalty, or customer service. And it can deliver really cool experiences. Just as a quick example of the type of experience that you can deliver, let's say you use customer service platforms like Zendesk or Freshdesk or Gorgeous or Customer or one of many other platforms that we integrate with today. If a consumer replies to a text message and they want to get customer service, we have some automated messages that can solve some of their questions. But let's say they want to get in touch with an agent and talk to a real person. We can actually automatically send those replies into the customer service platform, and the agent can chat in real time through that customer service platform with the consumer via text. So, you have that really seamless connection. And I think that provides an amazing consumer experience. And what we've found is that when people are getting that type of interactivity, they actually spend quite a bit more. So we had done a study that looked at people that were getting that type of real-time customer support versus people that didn't get that support via SMS. And the people getting the support were spending upwards of 30% more. So, delivering that type of integration is really powerful.
Yeah, this is lovely. I'm just actually on the partners page right now. Once again, I'll put that link in the show notes, but it's amazing where you're right. All the CRMs, the email providers, data platform companies, service, marketing agencies, system integrators, loyalty, and then interactive content. So it looks like it's an ongoing iterative process of signing up technology partners pairing up with your network and just offering a more seamless experience, because that's the challenge that I find too. I take on new accounts. It's one of the first things I go and take a look at, and the original vanity metrics is like, go to their app instances and take a look and say, okay, why did you choose these? And it appears that a lot of brands, especially ones that mature up over the years from Shopify Core into Shopify Plus, they tend to have a little bit of a duct tape solution of their app selection. And a lot of times employees have changed, and a lot of people don't know why it is that they've picked, and they have 50 apps in their app store. They're not really sure if they're all talking to each other or if they need to be there. And I think that's one of the roles of maybe me, merchant success team members, is actually to take a look and to consolidate and make some better recommendations. And I know Attentive is always on my radar to make sure that's the case. But are you seeing that with brands that you onboard? Are you finding that sometimes there's not just over time it comes a little bit duct tape-ish and you have to kind of make some other recommendations to help them?
Yeah, I mean, look, in the beginning when building out, integrations and things like that, there's a lot of duct tape. We've been fortunate to be around for a long time and build enough of these that I think most of our integrations are duct tape today. Some of the newer ones, because, it's a new business, a new technology or something, there's might be a little more duct tape. But I think most of them over time, they're pretty cemented together and done correctly. I think that brands, it really depends a little bit on their growth pattern too, right? There are products that are right for a brand that's really small. And then there are products that are right as a brand gets much bigger. And if your brand's growing really fast, you may be changing and upgrading your software pretty quickly. That's really where I think you need to make sure that you're using the right solutions as you grow.
I want to talk about your State of Conversational Commerce report for 2022. You released this very recently. I'm going to put a link in the show notes for it. But I wonder if you could maybe just on a high level, I'm definitely going to share the asset. We're going to talk about it, maybe more in the show notes. But we want people to download it and consume it. I had a chance to skim it. I just found it myself literally today, having a chance to absorb it myself. But maybe on a high level, what's the purpose behind this report? And then what sort of value do you think merchants and brands are going to get out of it?
Yeah, I think that a common question that we get from brands is, where is SMS in terms of consumers adopting it, right? Is this channel getting saturated fast? How late to the party am I? And I think the answer is that consumers are still really early in terms of their adoption of this channel. And this study pulls out a bunch of the consumer metrics on how many different programs people are signed up for. And we found that almost 20% of people are still signed up for no program. So there's a ton of people that aren't getting any messages still. And then, for people that are getting less than 5 different messages, that's still the largest group of people. Over a third of people that are getting less than 5 different messages from programs. So I think that the market is still wide open to consumers and to brands in the SMS channel. I compare that to something like, email, for instance, where the average person is getting hundreds and hundreds of emails every day. But, here we're learning that maybe they're getting less than 1 or 2 SMS messages per day from a program that they're signed up for. So just tremendously early in terms of where the life cycle is for the channel. And then, secondly, consumers really want to hear from this. And in particular, they really want to discover things like deals, new products, curated shopping. Those are some of the highest ranked experiences that consumers have from the channel.
So it truly is a blue ocean out there for SMS. I love it. So let's talk about the future for Attentive. Obviously, 5 years, the platform continues to iterate partnerships. Obviously with a few acquisitions and just improving your product roadmap is likely pretty significant. And so I just would like to understand what the North Star is for the remainder of 22. I mean, I don't want to think about BFCM yet, but I mean, just people have to start planning. Supply chain's a big challenge right now. Lots of different things going on, but just want to understand like where you believe the Attentive platform is going to continue to iterate over the next few months and leading into the Q4, which I don't want to think about yet because summer's just around the corner, but it's still an important revenue driver to think today and getting opt-ins and things like that now.
Yeah, I mean, look, as the lists are getting bigger, as more consumers are signing up, and also as it becomes harder to reach consumers in channels, like we talked about earlier on Facebook or other, advertising channels or even email, I think SMS grows in importance. And I think it becomes a larger and larger percentage of sales being driven. There could be a day where in the next few years, something on SMS is driving the majority of sales for a brand, right? It could be driving the majority of sales. So I think making the investment in best solutions to ensure that is a big lever for the brand, very important to get right today. Because if you're not using a great solution today and growing your list today, you're not going to be able to reach those people when the holidays come up, right? Sometimes people come to us a few days before the holiday and they say, we want to get launched and we want SMS to be a big channel. And we said, you know what, that's nice, but we can't get people to sign up. Like you have to get them to sign up first. So, the best time to launch it is well before the holidays. So you can start growing your list and then reach that list over the holiday period.
I always look at China too. They big in live selling right now. And then I see a lot of other platforms, including Amazon and others, really trying to push into the live selling market, which I think is interesting. I also like looking at WeChat, which I think is kind of like this, I call it the super app, but literally does everything from, buying your groceries and everything and hailing a cab. And so is Attentive kind of going down that same path a bit about, hey, maybe becoming a super app for SMS and other parts of commerce in general? Just curious on your feedback on that.
I think that we certainly could see SMS being able to really delight the consumer across that customer experience and be able to do things from, marketing at the top of the funnel to very personalized marketing, answering questions, completing transactions, offering real-time customer support, which I think on the customer support side, who wants to call a place? No one, right? You want to be able to just send a text message. So much better. You don't have to waste your time, right? You can send it and then wait for your reply. And you get a record of it, which is great. So the place can't say, I know we never talked. So it's great to have a record of it. And it's better than email where you can wait, who knows how long and go back and forth forever. So I love how SMS can really improve every step in the interaction, save a lot of time for people, make it a much more delightful experience.
Beautiful. So how can people learn more about Attentive? Like what do you believe are some of the next steps to get started?
Yeah, it's easy. Just visit attentivemobile.com. and sign up for a demo, and we'll be in touch in order to provide a demonstration of our product. We're offering totally free setup, and once you start sending text messages, you get to send messages for 30 days totally free with no obligation. And, I think just to push on a couple of the things that I think makes Attentive really special is number one, the level of service that we can provide. We have a world-class team of experts that can help you avoid all the common pitfalls and really skip to the finish line on what works within SMS so that you can get on the right path immediately. Secondly, we have the best tools to grow your subscriber list so that you can grow that list aggressively. And that's really important because that has a huge impact on how much revenue you can drive from the channel. And then finally, we've got a tremendous amount of tools for the type of messages you send. You want to send messages that are relevant because they're going to make consumers happy, and that's going to lead to more sales and less people opting out from your program. So, come to us if you want to get the absolute best and most impact from the channel.
There's a URL that you guys manage. It's called Text We Love. And it's an amazing inspiration to see, these are public texts that are out there and campaigns, both automated and then campaign side. Talk a little bit about why you built this little part of Attentive and why the open sharing of what does great look like when it comes to SMS.
Yeah, I think that great when it comes to SMS is sending messages that delight the consumer and also perform really well for the brand. And that's really hard to do. But, it takes understanding the consumer, knowing what type of messages work, when to send those messages, ensuring delivery of those messages. There's a lot behind the scenes that makes a great program.
And then with this Text We Love, it's so interesting because they actually have it broken down. And I've used this a lot with even merchant calls and stuff on it. You say, okay, what's your vertical? Okay, you're in apparel? Okay, great. You click apparel. And then you go, well, what sort of category do we want to think? Oh, do you want to work on some loyalty texts in your apparel business? Oh, great. And they gave you some really good recommendations of kind of what others are doing in a similar vertical in a similar category, and it really just almost inspires a brand to think, hey, I can do that, or I'm inspired by them. That's great. I look up to that brand, and this is what's successful for them. And I just appreciate the honesty and the openness of the transparency of, hey, here's what others are doing. Here's what ModCloth is doing, or Threadless, or there's some really amazing brands that have been very open to sharing about what is successful for them.
Yeah, I really love this because it is amazing to go to Text We Love and be able to just see what all these great brands are doing and learn from those brands. And, for some of these, we also have case studies that give you a lot more in-depth information. We also have built into our platform a number of recommended templates for different types of messages where we've looked at all the best performing messages. We send and receive billions of messages every month. We go through all those messages. We figure out what makes the messages the best, and we make templates that you can just use immediately to get the best performing messages so that you don't have to spend tremendous amount of time trying to write something and then see it not work so well, right? So we're going to help you skip right to what works.
Yeah, this is lovely. Well, Brian, thank you for coming on the show today. Shopify really is on a mission to make commerce better for everyone. It's very clear, that I'd say the mobile phone is now the new cookie. It's really amazing that the phone numbers really are emerging now almost as a source of truth to help these brands deliver. I'd almost say like the right content to the right person at the right time. It's so interesting that that's how Attentive has kind of positioned themselves and really engaging as a mobile consumer, just driving more revenue. I believe those are a lot of great keys to success, and just want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing openly about kind of your platform and some of these success stories and stuff like that. It just, this knowledge sharing and giving back is very powerful. I wish you tremendous continued success with brands powered by Shopify, and thanks for coming on the show again.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks a lot for having me. It's a great show, and I'll be here anytime.
All right. Have a great day. Today's episode is brought to you by BeProfit, the all-in-one profit analysis dashboard for Shopify e-commerce brands. Get a grip on all of your store's data and start making data-driven decisions to optimize your profitability today. Make the most of your store and discover the true power of BeProfit by visiting beprofit.co. And don't forget to use the code FL15, it's FL15, for an exclusive lifetime 15% discount. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you, a loyal listener of e-commerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, launch, grow, and scale with Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.